All right, Mondy,
Julian.
we're back, man. It's Star Wars Vision season 2. It's time. There were a
Volume
lot of
2.
episodes, huh?
Star Wars Visions Volume 2.
Like I said, season 2. Let's get into it, man. There's 9 episodes, about 15 minutes apiece. A lot of content here,
Yeah.
from new creators around the world. So
Yeah.
instead of Japan, let's see what we thought.
In a nutshell, just what for the audience who may not have heard, what are your thoughts on season 1 or volume 1 of Star Wars Visions?
Man, I really enjoyed it. I think it was honestly like a highlight. And honestly, I can appreciate it a lot more now after having seen Volume 2. But yeah, I mean, Volume 1 was fantastic. Like even now, even though I haven't like revisited it since it first came out, I still vividly remember multiple episodes, multiple storylines, even like voice acting performances. And Volume 1, because it was done in Japan by different studios in Japan, I watched it in the subbed version, even that was a awesome experience. So I really appreciated Volume 1 for what it was. Honestly, I loved it, and I was surprised that it was as good as it was. What about you?
Same. I enjoyed it as well. It was a total surprise. I thought we didn't need it. I was like, why are we having Star Wars content that isn't even canon?
Yeah,
But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it a lot more than canon stuff, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
Um, some of my favorite episodes in Volume 1 were, of course, we all agree that the Ninth Jedi was just goated. And I also liked the episode with the old man and the villager in the village.
Hmm.
That was really good. And the last episode. How about you? What were some of your favorite episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that the Ninth Jedi was a standout, but I think the introduction episode with the lone samurai was also
That was
awesome.
yeah,
Um, I mean, that's like to me, it's just like classic Star Wars stuff. Like, there's just this isolated story of guys saving a village, but like it was so well done. And the Astro Boy episode, even though I know that's not what it's called, but the Astro Boy episode was memorable just because Masaka Nozawa, who voices Goku in the sub, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and all that, was the voice of the main character. So super, super interesting, man. Very entertaining. I loved it.
and just briefly, what were your thoughts going into season 2?
They were pessimistic at best, if I'm being honest. I mean, just because I thought that the studios in Japan had a great foundation, and obviously they know animation and anime, and I figured that there was a lot of things that they could continue on with if they were to get a second season of Volume One. But I mean that wasn't the case. These are 9 totally new stories. They have no ties to what we've seen at all. So I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I was excited. Excuse me. I was excited enough to give it a chance just because it's more Star Wars content. But I wasn't necessarily thinking that it was going to be as good as Volume One, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, same here. I was like totally against it. I saw we had some stop animation. I was like, I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah,
But
we
let's
fucking
see.
did, didn't we?
Let's see how those thoughts panned out. So, episode 1 was called Sith. This was by the studio in Spain called El Guiri. A woman and her droid are painting. They are approached by a Sith Lord and his 2 robot assistants. The Sith Lord reveals that the woman is a former Sith and that he comes to bring her back to the dark side. And they duel, of course, and then we learn that eventually she learns to embrace both sides of the Force and she defeats the Sith. Just any thoughts on this episode?
I thought that there was a lot of good creativity here. I think that this is like a decently strong first episode with the art style, the animation style, the kind of color mashing that they did with, like, especially like in the beginning where she's just kind of roaming around her little world, I guess, or her ship. Just like the artistic choice here was really cool. It's funny though, like I found myself more interested in the world itself than I did the actual action in this episode. Don't get me wrong, like it's always cool to see people go back and forth with the Force and all that, but um, I was kind of more interested in the creativity of the world than I was with like the story beats, if that makes any sense. So this was a solid first episode, though. I mean, I was pleased. 15 minutes. Obviously you can't get a whole lot here, but um, I was pleased with this.
Yeah, I mean, I started off just so ready to hate this episode when I saw that she was going to be painting. I was like, I don't want to see this bitch painting for 15 minutes. But that was just me, honestly, probably just being pessimistic already because I didn't like the idea of season two going to different countries and stuff like that. But it quickly wore off, man, because I was like, this episode it got going. And I love the whole Sith design as well. He looked really cool. And also like when she ignited both sides of that lightsaber, like one side was like the light and one side was the dark. I was like, I've never seen that kind of choice in Star Wars done before. I know it's not canon, but I kind of went crazy. I was like, oh shit, that's kind of dope, you know. So overall, I ended up really enjoying this episode. I thought it was or like you said, a pretty solid first strong episode for me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Episode two is called Screecher's Reach. This is from the animation studio called Cartoon Saloon, based out of Ireland. So a young girl decides, that there's more to life, and she believes that there's more to life. So she follows her calling, quote unquote, to a haunted location called Screecher's Reach. Three of her friends tag along with her. They quickly learn that it's indeed haunted with an evil entity in their presence. The young girl and her friends are separated, but we learn that the evil entity is an old Sith. The young girl fights off the Sith by using the Force, and she ends up, she ends the conversation by basically cutting off the Sith's head. And the young girl and her friends are approached by a large starship at the very end, and the Sith Lord steps out to recruit the young girl as her new apprentice. Thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, I mean, initially I was a little bored with it. And that sounds crazy coming from everything that you just said. Man again. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, like initially the episode was just going in a direction that I thought we had seen like so many times that I was just like, okay, like we're doing this again. Like this is classic Star Wars. You know, we're gonna fight off the dark side and the temptation. But ultimately, man, the episode actually won me over. If I'm being honest, I initially I was just like, okay, is this just about this girl killing this thing and like conquering this demon or whatever? But for it to be a test to like join the dark side, I was like, okay, this is kind of like a decent twist here where like I'm actually interested in it. And it was interesting. This is something I should have noted in the first episode as well. But in the first episode, there was different. I mean, and I'm watching this dubbed English, so there's like different dialects in like every single episode, which I really enjoyed. Honestly, like this is something that you just can't really get if it's only Japan, right? So the first studio was in where was it?
Spain.
It was in Spain. This one was Ireland. Monty, shut up. This one was Ireland. And yeah, I thought it was cool. Yeah,
fucking racist.
And once the episode ended, like it like took a second for the credits to roll. So I thought that it was going to give us like a epilogue. It was going to say something like, "And she became the darkest Sith Lord ever," or something like that. Because like she's just like, "All right, nigga, I'm out. Like I'm this is my journey." But yeah, it didn't. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this episode too. I thought this one was probably one of the highlights for me.
Yeah, I agree. Just like you, I thought it started off pretty kiddie, and then I got invested really quickly when I learned, what was going on. It was some real kind of like horror imagery with this as well. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Like even like just the sound design, like the old Sith, the way she was screeching. I was like, that's that kind of gives me ideas for what I would want, something live action or maybe something that is canon. So I thought they played with the horror aspect really, really great. And also, I thought just the reveal at the very end was brilliant. I mean, I was like, wow, like this is off to a really good start for this season. Just the whole idea that like you said, that was a test to become a Sith, and you could just see her friends were like, no, like you're bugging, you're tweaking. but like that kind of goes back to the very first point. Like she believed that something more for her the entire time, and that calling that she had was essentially just the dark side reaching out to her. I thought that was done really well. So I love this episode actually.
One thing I'll mention here is that this episode kind of starts this theme of, you're meant for something bigger, and you kind of just got to pick up and leave. Like in some of the later episodes, we see it. And in later episodes, in like the way it's done, like it really bothers me. Like it really bothers me. But here, I thought it was done beautifully. Like
yeah.
if you're gonna leave, make it make some actual sense. Like this kid clearly has a sucky fucking life. Like sure, she has friends, but they're not family. And like this kid clearly strives to be more than just some mine worker or whatever the fuck they were doing. So like, okay, I get it. But like for you to just like leave your family that you that you've known all your life, and you love your family, all of a sudden some random nigga comes, he's like, hey man, you gotta do this alone. No, I'm not rolling with that. But whatever. Go ahead, man. Let's keep going.
Episode 3, In the Stars. This is by Punk Robot Studios in Chile. Two sisters are living on land that is now occupied by the Empire. We learn that their mother and their tribe was wiped out when the Empire invaded. The younger sister saw that her mother used the Force before she died, and she's convinced that she can use the Force too. The older sister tries to instill in her, that the Force isn't real, pretty much. And then one day, when the Empire captures the younger sister, the older sister fights off the Empire to retrieve her. And when she's thrown off a cliff, the small one, and then the older one uses the Force to kind of stop her fall and essentially destroy the Empire base. Thoughts on this episode?
There's nothing more annoying in like any form of media than like a fucking kid that just won't listen. Like I I I like really try to look past it and enjoy this episode, but there was just multiple times where I'm just like, what are we doing? To me, this episode was a step down from what we had seen. Don't get me wrong, like there are certain things that were cool in here, especially the ending where they destroyed the base. But overall, man, this is more of like a frustrating episode for me. And the fucking the stop animation, like I'm not rolling with it again. Like I don't get why it's still a thing. Like I don't get why people enjoy it. It looks stupid, and I hate it. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, yeah. So we got some big disagreements on this one. I thought the animation was beautiful. I thought it was just absolutely stunning, the stop animation. And you're right. The younger sister was like super bad and doing everything she was told not to do. But she kind of won me over as well. Like I thought her little voice was adorable. I don't know what kind of accent that was. Maybe it was
It was
a
a
Chile
Chilean.
Chile accident.
Sister,
Right.
Empire, we
Right.
got care.
I was like, oh.
Look at the stars. There are a million stars.
Mama
Fuck
Stardust.
Mama dead.
But yeah, I thought this episode was great, man. I thought it was definitely influenced by like industrialization and the effects that has, on on cultures and people that are kind of indigenous. When the older sister unlocked her force ability, I thought that was just such a powerful moment to me. It got me to, I give this episode kudos, man. Like to get me to care about as a person or a character in 15 minutes that takes a lot of like great storytelling. And I'm sorry it didn't impact you the way it impacted me, but I really felt for them at the end when she used the Force to catch her younger sister. She was like, you could tell she had grown up in a society or in the world now where she's just like the Force. Let's just put that away. Let's just focus on surviving. But like the younger sister was like, no, like, she saw something in her mother that eventually was passed down to the older sister. I thought it was just a beautiful kind of full circle moment when she did use the Force to kind of save her sister. And yeah, and also I thought it was very cute, like how the younger sister was trying to use the Force with her. Like I still think in my mind, like she thinks that she was really using the Force too. Like, no, older sister has it. You don't have it, baby. Sorry.
Not yet.
Why I talk like that? Also, it was really.
You don't have it, baby. Sorry.
I know, right? Like, it's gay as hell.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway. Also, I thought it was really impactful as well when the Empire was destroyed at the very end and the clouds cleared in the sky and we saw like the star that kind of like, was like her mother represented in the sky. I thought that was a very powerful moment as well. So a lot of just good stuff in this. And honestly, the sad truth is like in reality, like if that would have really happened, the Empire would just come back, with more firepower, and it would be the wrap of that story. Like that's what happens in real life. And so you can look at it two ways, like the end of the story, like they live on happily ever after, or you can look in reality, like the Empire comes back with a bigger base, more firepower, shoot them down. And yeah, that's why the Empire is so devastating. So I enjoyed it.
I mean, that is what happened. I mean, her mom tried to do the same thing that they did, and her mom succeeded smallly. And then they brought those fucking what are they? ATs or AT8, whatever the fuck those big shits are called. Wipe them niggas out. So yeah.
Thank you for your cynicism. Episode 4, I Am Your Mother. This is by Aardman Studios in England. They're from the same creators as movies like Flushed Away, starring Hugh Jackman, and Wallace and Gromit, which you can tell by the animation style. A young girl dreams of being a pilot. She goes to an annual family race event where she's embarrassed by her mother and their raggedy old ship, so she doesn't even bother to tell her mother about the race. Her mother shows up last minute at the race, and they are thrust into the competition. Against all odds, they're able to beat her local bully and her mother, and they come in first place. What are your thoughts on this episode?
This one wasn't that fun either. I will say that, I mean, it's kind of crazy that like Star Wars is such a massive universe now that there's like a place for these little weird, wacky stories, which is cool. But as somebody that's like consuming content, I could have done without watching this. This was like I said, like it wasn't like bad or terrible or anything like that. It just didn't really have the kind of heart that I'm looking for in a Star Wars story. And maybe if I was a parent, it would have hit me differently. But I'm not. So this episode was just kind of there. It was just something to watch. Took up 15 minutes of my life that I'll never get back, if I'm being real. What do you think?
Yeah, this was just like a cutesy little episode. Like it would definitely reminded me of like movies like Wallace and Gromit or Chicken Run, just by the animation style, and of course they're done by the same studio. But like overall, I think it's more so for kids. It's just kind of like learning about appreciating your family and and being grateful. This kind of was in the same vein as in season one, the Rock episode when they were on Tatooine. That kind of reminded me of that, even though I enjoyed that episode more. But I guess it was really cool. Like on the bully ship, she had like a mini Death Star. Did you notice that? She had like a mini. I thought that was really dope. But other than that, like you said, this is kind of forgettable. But I think maybe some people with like a younger audience might enjoy this a little bit more.
I agree.
Episode 5, Journey to the Dark Head. This is by Studio Mir. This is a huge studio out of Korea, South Korea, which have made stuff that you know like Legend of Korra and the 4th season of Boondocks. So this is I've heard of Studio Mir even before this season. Have you?
No.
Okay. A girl sees brief glimpses of prophecies in stones on this particular planet that represents the balance between the light and the dark side of the Force. She presents an idea to the Jedi Council to destroy the monument that represents the dark side to stop the war. They approve her request and they pair her with a young Jedi. The Jedi she's paired with fought a Sith Lord in the past who killed his master. The Sith Lord spared him due to his anger when he saw in the young Jedi he can like turn him like later on, turn him out. On their way to the monument, they are intercepted by the Sith Lord, and the Jedi kills the Sith, and the girl realizes that destroying the dark side of the monument is not the way. Dun-dun-dun. Thoughts on this episode?
This one was it was cool. It was more interesting than the last episode we watched. I actually think I fell asleep on this episode. I got a little bored like mid fight, which is crazy again.
Damn.
Although no. I will say the animation was great. And you can tell that they put in budget and money for the fight scene between the Jedi and the Sith Lord. But again, man, ultimately this one this one didn't have really anything for me. I understand the themes and I get what it was trying to present, but I feel like I've seen this before, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just that this one didn't really bring anything new to the franchise or to me as somebody that consumes Star Wars. So it was nice and pretty to look at times, but ultimately I don't think that I would ever like revisit this.
I thought it was cool, man. I like it wasn't the best, but it definitely wasn't the worst either. And like you said, it had some very crisp animation. Like that looked like it kind of like reminded me of like Volume 1 a little bit, like the like Japanese anime style of animation, even though it's a South Korean studio. The Sith Lord's design was like amazing. I want to see that in like the canon verse. Like he had like the Doc Ock arms and like the mask was just was super dope. But like he just took his mask off, nigga like Pegasus off of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi boy.
I was like, okay, inspiration. And like the lightsaber fights look great in this episode. Like they look like I love when like how they like newer Star Wars content is like even like the live action stuff. They really make a contrast to show you like these lightsabers glow. Like I know that sounds weird, but like they really glow and they're like a glaring kind of thing that you would see in real life. So I like the red and the blue clash, and I thought it was a very brutal kill when he killed the Sith Lord. I thought like they tried to make a point like, okay, he might transition now to the dark side because of the way that they teased it the entire episode that he was going to transition. But like chopping off a nigga's head is like, I don't think Jedi. Well, I mean, if you're fighting for your life, you got to do that shit like that, I guess. But
I mean, Samuel Jackson did it to Jango Fett.
You're right. He sure did. I don't know.
Chop that nigga up.
That was a brutal kill. But yeah, overall, like you said, I thought it was just cool. Episode 6, The Sky Dancer. This is by Studio Le Cachet out of France. They've done stuff that you might have heard of, like Primal on Adult Swim. I thought was really good. I actually watched that. and Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix. I heard it's really good. I never watched it though. So two rebel spies host a ball for stormtroopers in the Empire. Their plan is to kind of like sabotage the ball by blowing it up while they're doing their little circus act. The leader of the two rebel spies is about to assassinate an Empire commander when she aborts the mission after realizing that it's her long lost son that the Empire took from her, a while ago. So thoughts on this episode?
This episode was absolutely fantastic, bro. I was shocked. Like 5 minutes into the episode, or even like looking at the preview, I'm just like, this is gonna be another stupid fucking episode that I'm just gonna have to sit through until I get to probably the finale or whatever the case may be, because I'm sure that's when they're saving all the good shit. Let me just point out, there was no force, there was no lightsaber action in this episode at all, and this was the best episode bar none. Like I like people people like to make the point that Star Wars is only interesting because of the Force or because of lightsabers, and bro, like there was nothing in here but story, callbacks, and just characters that, like, again, I would love to see more of. The lead, what the fuck, Lielolo, whatever the fuck her name was. She was looking like a fucking god, like in this entire episode, like with the sheets and the dress and the moves. It honestly reminds you of like a kung fu film, if I'm being real. Like in Asia, in China, this is how they made films back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, like with all the flying and the motion and the movement. It was just beautiful to watch. I mean, and obviously the story hits you, like it's a great twist. If I'm using, like, if we're getting twists in Star Wars Visions, like what the fuck. Like it was awesome. Like I don't know, like, and again, this was a 16-minute maybe from like start to finish runtime. I couldn't believe that they were able to fit in a beginning, middle, and an end, make it meaningful and impactful, and make me care. Like I was blown away by this. I was like, wow, this is how you fucking do it, basically. What'd you think?
Totally agree, man. This is just such a great story. Like you said, in 16 minutes, I would love for them to expand this.
Yeah.
Just so many things to point out. Like, first of all, the K2SO droid from Rogue One was terrifying in this. Like, he looked like a fucking Terminator or some shit.
All black, baby. Black Air Force energy.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. And even like the small detail, like of the commander, like her son, he like removed his horns to like assimilate into the Empire. Like, I'm not trying to get too deep.
They removed it for him.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not trying to get too deep, but that kind of reminded me of, like, like slavery times when like a slave master would pick a certain slave and make him the master, so he could feel like a sense of power, but they would like take certain things from him, from his identity, his culture, so that he would not, think of that when he's in his new position of power. I thought that was just really like deep to me, and I really just appreciated that. And like you said, man,
as well, they took his eye.
Yeah. Oh, the Empire took his eye.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look, they have two separate color eyes, and they have the horns. So right. he had his horns taken and covered, and he had an eye patch over his other eye.
Wow, I didn't even pick up on that. Well, look, that just kind of goes to my point. Like, it's just great storytelling without even having to do too much. And yeah, this is just by far like the standout to me. Like, I love this episode from start to finish.
Yeah, agree, man. Agree. Blown away by it.
And I was so mad when she didn't assassinate this nigga. I'm like, kill him. I'm like, why did she kill the mother when she had a chance to assassinate the commander? I'm like, why didn't she kill him?
Oh, yeah. And
like you said, the whole twist. Like, I thought that was just such a great thing, man.
Yeah. And go
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, when she saw the guy and she thought that was the guy who had taken her son all those years ago, and she fell, like some of the imagery there where like it was just like a blackness over the commander's face, and you saw the K2SO just in the background. It just looked like super villainy. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is amazing. Again, like, this little dumbass Star Wars Vision show is like making me feel. I just loved it.
Yeah, and to make you feel, like you said, in 16 minutes, man, that takes really good storytelling. That's tough to do. I've watched whole seasons of series and not felt nothing. So yes, Sweet Tooth. I'm looking at you.
It's not a Sweet Tooth shot. Damn.
What the fuck did I do? Sweet Tooth like, damn, I do shit. Anyway, Sweet Tooth. Episode 7, The Bandits of Golok. This is by 88 Pictures in India. A brother and his younger sister are traveling by train. The younger sister displays the Force, and they are forced to exit the train when stormtroopers find out that she has the Force. They take shelter in a nearby village when a Sith appears after hearing about the girl's abilities. An elderly woman in the village reveals that she's a Jedi, and she defends her and her brother from the Sith. The elderly woman then takes the young girl under her tutelage, and she now has to kind of leave her brother behind and train as a Jedi. Thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, this episode pissed me off. But I will say that the design of the I think he was an Inquisitor. The design of the Inquisitor, the Indian dude, it was like super cool. Like he kind of reminded me of it kind of reminded me of like Jafar from Aladdin. But like again, like this whole like representation thing is awesome. I'm glad that like there's Indian Jedi, and we had Spain, we had Chile, now we have Indian too. So cool. But yeah, this entire notion that you're supposed to leave your brother after your entire family's been killed by the Empire to go train with some lady that you never met, and like you can have no contact with him. Like it kind of takes me back to the whole Grogu and Mando thing. Like you want you want him to leave his son, or you want him to leave his father essentially to go train for what, nigga? Like there's peace. I mean, with them anyway. I mean, obviously here there's no peace, but it's just weird. It's kind of like old fashioned in my opinion, but whatever. That's semantics. Yeah, the action here was great. This is another time where like if somebody's old, watch the fuck out. I mean, like that's just the way it works. Yeah,
you thought it was a cane?
Yeah, right. Call it an ambulance, but not for me, bitch. Like she pulled out 2 of them things, nigga, and was boxing his ass. Yeah, it was cool, man. I enjoyed the episode, but I didn't enjoy the ending, I guess. But what do you think?
The episode was just okay. It was lower end for me. It felt more like an ode to like South Asian representation than like in culture, than really like an attempt to tell like a good story to me. I mean, in my opinion. So, but I do want to address what you said about like the whole Jedi thing. Like that's kind of been the problem, though, right? Like we've seen like the Jedi's teachings have led to like a lot of corruption because they're just too by the book. But on the opposite end of that, playing devil's advocate, like if you're in a time of war and you're lacking Jedi and the Empire is running them up with all these Sith and Inquisitors, like you got to take extreme measures. Like if that means taking kids from their families, because you need firepower, you need Jedi, then I mean I get it, you know. Do you not you don't understand that?
Sure.
I mean, like what do you do? Like you can't let them have all these force sensitive niggas on your side, and you have nothing on your side. Like you got to combat that somehow.
Okay, but to strip people from their family, that's kind of whatever. I mean, I guess is going to happen one way or the other, right? It's either going to be them or the Empire that kills your family. So why not leave your family now, go train, and just hope they make it?
I mean, attachment leads to the dark side. Did Yoda not say that? So if you are attached to your family to the point where you just can't live without them, then and you're force sensitive, then you'll probably go to the dark side anyway.
I mean, Luke didn't. I mean, he had attachment to his sister Leia and his best friend Han.
But that nigga has zero. Nigga, when his parents got fried up in episode 4, he said, "Okay, where's the adventure?"
He's like, finally, fuck.
No. I know, right? I'm tired of Tatooine, Grandma. That's too damn bad.
Too damn bad, Luke. Get your ass in that motherfucking farm, nigga. All right.
Anyway, episode 8, The Pit. This is by. Let me not start. This is by. We had one chance, man. Anyway, this is by The Art Shioto and Lucasfilm. Believe it or not, this is The Art is like Japan studio, and of course Lucasfilm is USA. A group of slave miners are being.
First of all, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Get the preview out the way, because I got some fucking things to say about this.
Me too, bitch. A group of slave miners who are black, by the way, are being forced to mine for kyber crystals by the Empire. Okay, they dig a giant deep old hole now, and then the Empire leaves them for dead. Yeah. A young boy climbs out of the pit to go tell a nearby city to go help them. The Empire kills him by throwing him down the pit, and the nearby city's citizens eventually come and rescue everyone. Thoughts on this episode?
So I was sitting there for a long time when this episode ended, trying to think about like what takeaways positively could I have from this? Like, I mean, first of all, I shouldn't have laughed as hard as I did when they threw that nigga down that pit. Like I was dying laughing. Like
You're actually sick.
no, like this nigga thought that he made it. Like he was like, I'm out. Like let's go. Like come on, bro. Like y'all gotta help me. Stormtroopers was like, bitch, what? Like who let you out the pit, nigga? Like,
This nigga felt like Mufasa, bro.
yeah, like
Arms flailing.
they just threw that nigga like he was fucking trash. That's crazy.
Bro, I thought like he used the force by the time he got to the bottom, like he would use the force to like no, that nigga hit the ground.
Yeah, that nigga did. Yeah, that nigga's legs are all over the place. I mean, slavery, black people in Star Wars, like how fucking dare they? Like what? Like
Lucasfilm,
yeah,
this too, by the way.
hold on, like picking stuff, like bro, like what are we doing? Like, come on, bro, how fucking on the nose can you be? Okay. All right, let me just look at my notes. Slavery, oppression, propaganda, cruel world. I mean, like, what am I supposed to say about this? Like, what positivity came from this episode? Did they get that they got rescued at the end? Okay, I don't know. Go ahead, Monty. What do you think?
So, like I said, we had one fucking chance. By we, I mean black people to make a good episode in Star Wars Visions, and we chose to go the political route. Listen,
we really did. We really did.
Now I thought this was gonna be like I've noticed up until now, like every episode has like a female lead. I'm like, okay, so we got our first male lead. Interesting. I'm like, that's not a bad thing, by the way. I don't care about the female leads or whatever, but I just noticed it's very interesting. Like a deliberate choice to have like a female lead every single one of these episodes.
Wow, I didn't notice that at all. Interesting.
So I thought we had a male, but no, we didn't. Really, they focused on the younger sister in the latter half of the episode and her journey or whatever to the Force. When he was thrown on that pit, like, I was like, damn, that's kind of dark. Shit, like damn, that's the episode that we get, and I hate that like the black episode had like the least entertaining episode in my opinion. Like I was just rooting for us, you know, like because Disney Plus is gonna see the ratings and like, okay, that's their last fucking chance.
Niggas can't never have nothing, and here's why.
You can't get nothing, man. And the post credit scene, did you watch that?
No, I didn't see a post credit scene.
Okay, well, there's a post-credit scene where they go back to the pit and there's like graffiti of his face, and that's like clearly like an allegory to like police brutality and like social justice. Like, you know, when like a social warrior dies, they kind of put the graffiti of like Tamir Rice, you know, all that kind of stuff all over the city. I get it, like George Floyd, and I don't know, man. Of course, the black studio had to be the one to kind of just throw that in there and like can we just have a cool story?
No,
you know?
No, you can't, nigger. You're black, and we're gonna make sure that you know you're black. And there's bigger things than Star Wars out here. It's time for you to be woke and wake up,
bro. Like in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago, we still dealing with this shit. We can't catch a fucking break. Jesus Christ, man. But yeah, this episode kind of pissed me off. I see what they were trying to do, but it just felt too on the nose and too like, you know, I don't need a champion in Star Wars, bro. Just give me a good story. Anyways.
Yes. I agree. Yeah.
Last episode here, episode 9. Awu Song. This is by Triggerfish in South Africa. A planet full of corrupted. There's a planet full of like corrupted kyber crystals. A father who mines the crystals lives with his young daughter. She is force sensitive, and she uses a song to purify all the red corrupted kyber crystals. Kyber crystals. It did turn blue.
Bang on that motherfucker. Okay.
Kyber crystals, and then the episode ends with her being taken under the wing of a Jedi to train off world. Thoughts on the final episode?
If I'm being real, this episode was kind of ass. No, stop, no, for real. Look,
You're fucking the worst.
No. Look, having a voice that can purify kyber crystals, okay, that's new. Sure, let's do it here. But again, bro, like this episode didn't do anything for me. I'm never gonna watch it again. This kid leaves her father that she's been with her entire life to go train with a Jedi. What do you think?
This episode, I mean, it wasn't like the best, but I thought it was really good, man. I mean, I thought they had a super unique animation style. Like, was that stop motion or just something different? I couldn't even tell what the
It
fuck that was.
it kind of looked like it, but yeah, I mean, I would say it might have been a blend of that and something else.
And the use of music I thought was really cool and really creative in here. Like that is a far fetched idea, like singing a kyber crystal into purity. But I thought, I mean, just for what this was, like I said, not canon. I thought it was really cool. Like I like how they use music. I like her song. She was singing, singing to the crystals. And I've noticed at this point,
Shut the fuck up.
you're so evil. And I noticed, like at this point, like a lot of the episodes deal with, like you said, like a youngling, you're evil, a youngling heading off to the call of the forest by a Jedi, and that kind of got repetitive. But overall, I did enjoy this episode. I thought it hit emotional beats for me at points. So, not the best way to end the season, but not bad by any means, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So overall, what are your thoughts on season 2?
I don't know, man. I feel like it started off pretty good. Like I was enjoying most of what I was seeing, and then episode 6 was like the high for me. But pretty much after that, there was nothing else that I really like latched onto or loved. And I don't think there's anything that I would ever come back to in this aside from that one episode. So, like I said, like I said earlier, it's a step down for me personally from what I had seen in volume 1. But I I do think that this season presented a lot of different themes and ideas, and I think that opening up the studios to for it to be worldwide instead of instead of just inside of Japan, was it a benefit or a hindrance? I'm not. I mean, I don't know, but I will say that it was cool to see the representation and to see all these different fans making their visions or their reality come true. But ultimately, I don't think that. I mean, I if I had to grade it, I'd probably give this season a C. Like ultimately, I think that it was just okay to average. Um, Even if you're like a pure diehard Star Wars fan like Jake, I would be like hesitant to recommend this to him. That's just me being honest.
Okay, we have a little bit different opinions. I thought this season was, I thought it was pretty good, man. I mean, I did have some stinkers, not stinkers, but nothing was really bad. Just more so like not as good as the others. Like of course the black episode and the Indian episode. That sounds crazy to word
It
it
really
like that.
does. Jesus Christ.
But I will say that it was pretty ignorant of me to kind of think that, oh, because it's going worldwide now it'll be lesser. Because now that in hindsight, like you said, I like the diversity. I like seeing different people. Like I liked what Japan did in Volume 1, obviously, but expanding the world and letting other countries tell their story and like express their love for Star Wars is a really good idea. And I was ignorant for thinking that otherwise. Um, and like just also like every episode had, like I said, had a female lead, every single one. So that's interesting. They had to be deliberate, right? I mean, how could that not be?
I didn't even notice that, but it is interesting, and it probably was deliberate. Yeah.
And I thought just like overall, the various animation styles were stunning. Even episodes I didn't like as much, I thought they were still really good animation that I could appreciate. And I thought it, like I said, just being able to achieve those emotional depths within 15 minutes is really hard to do. I wish they kind of gave some episodes longer time. Like I feel like Volume 1 had like longer episodes. Like Ninth Jedi was like 45 minutes, I believe, or like 30 minutes.
Was it?
Or
Damn.
like the episode with like the bunny. Remember the bunny on that planet?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like 35 minutes. So I don't know why they chose to give these episodes only 15 minutes, but I don't know. But still worked, I guess, in terms of the emotional aspect. I never thought, honestly, I like this. I give this season the B plus. I gave Mandalorian a C. I never thought I enjoyed this season more than fucking Mandalorian season 3, which I love the Mandalorian. So that might speak volumes to what's going on with the Mandalorian. But now I just kind of want to ask you just to use a couple of questions of like what are your favorite, like least favorite of the episodes of the season? What were your least favorite episodes in your or episode in your opinion, I guess?
The least favorite was, I think it was episode 4. Hold on, I have it here. Yeah, episode 4, the racing episode. Again, this episode wasn't inherently bad. There was like nothing wrong with it. Like it wasn't like it was boring or whatever the case may be. It's just that I don't think that it was for me personally, and there wasn't anything for me to really latch on to in terms of like, oh, like I resonate with that character, or like, oh, I've been there before. Like I love my mom, so sorry. Are you okay?
Mine was like allergies. Sorry.
Okay.
Mine was episode 8, the pit. Unfortunately,
The nigga
just,
episode.
yeah, we had one chance and blew it. So next question is what's your favorite episode and what's the episode that you want to see adapted into live action just from like a story standpoint? So try and make them two different answers, I guess. I mean, I know your favorite is the Sky Dancer, but
Yeah, the favorite was the Sky Dancer episode by far. I don't think it's close. I mean, like I said, just the surprise factor, the that aerial movement, and the fact that it didn't have to have the force or lightsabers in it to make it great was awesome. Um, Something that want to go live action. That's interesting. Probably the easiest one to be would be the light and dark one, where the dude killed his master and he had to get revenge and cut the nigga's head off. I think that would be the simplest one to bring to live action. But I mean, I think any of these could honestly translate over easily. What do you think?
my favorite was episode 3 in the stars, which is a stop motion one that you didn't care for as much, and episode 6, of course, the Sky Dancer. And my live action one I want is by far Creatures Reach. Man, I want a horror film. Give me a horror film set outer rim somewhere. I don't want no Skywalker tie-in, nothing like that. Just give me something like this, but like expand it out. Obviously, I think that like you could really pull on some heartstrings there. You can have like a really cool climax with the whole her killing the Sith Lord. Like that could be really cool. And of course, at the very end, the big cherry on top will be the Sith Lord coming down. We're saying, oh shit, there's other Sith Lord out there, and I think that could be a really cool thing adapted into live action. Like I said, the horror vibes would be the most thing that would be the most compelling for that, in my opinion, because we never really seen horror in Star Wars. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up, guys. Volume 3 of Star Wars Visions is already in the works. So we'll see if they go back to the Japanese studios or continue the worldwide thing.
They won't. I mean, they're not gonna despan. They're gonna expand. So, great. Can't wait to watch Volume 3. Let's hope there's another gem in there.
I hope there's a couple gems in there. But yeah, guys, that wraps it up. Star Wars Visions Pod. Thank you.
Thank you, Monty.